For the 1988 World Series, the Los Angeles Dodgers defeated the heavily favored Oakland A's, giving the Dodgers franchise their 6th World Series title. Afterward, Los Angeles didn't necessarily collapse. However, they didn't have the success that Dodgers fans were accustomed to experiencing. But in reality, the historic National League franchise was competing for division titles during the following decade. Moreover, the Dodgers finished 40 games over 500 in the 1990s with some interesting names and achieved an absolutely amazing MLB feat during a 5-year stretch. So in 1989, the Dodgers did not make it back to the postseason, finished with a 77 and 83 record. LA was first in the National League in ERA, but last in the NL in runs scored. But for the next season, the Dodgers, they finished 3rd in the NL in terms of runs scored, thanks to a bounce-back year from Eddie Murray, batting a career-high 330 in 1990, and Murray was acquired in a trade with Baltimore prior to the 89 season, but also new acquisitions in Hubie Brooks and Juan Samuel helped improve the offense. Now, a hitter I want to talk about on this team is Cal Daniels, who had so much talent and was becoming such a promising offensive producer while at Cincinnati. But unfortunately, Daniels would experience several knee operations. The Dodgers, they took a chance with his tremendous potential, as Cal Daniels wound up having one really good season and one above average season in LA, but then his last MLB season would be in 1992. As for the pitching staff, the Dodgers, they finished 7th in the NL, as this was the pitching staff in 1990. A young Ramon Martinez put up really good numbers, but one name that's missing is Orel Hershiser. The former Cy Young Award winner and World Series hero really pitched a lot of innings in the late 80s. Then early in 1990, the pitcher, nicknamed Bulldog, was diagnosed with a torn labrum and wasn't the same pitcher. Now, the other pitcher that needs to be mentioned from that previous list is Fernando Valenzuela. So, I was too young to experience Fernando Mania in the early and mid 80s, but knew how good he used to be. But in 1990, El Toro, he did throw a no-hitter, but the exciting Dodgers pitcher would be released prior to the 1991 season after a poor spring training, as his pitching effectiveness would decline due to shoulder problems. So, the 1990 LA Dodgers finished 2nd in the National League West, 5 games behind the eventual champs, the Cincinnati Reds. 1990 would also be the last season for Kirk Gibson as a Dodger, as the World Series hero only appeared in about half the team's games in 1989 and 1990, and would sign as a free agent with Kansas City for the 91 season. Enter the 1991 season, the Dodgers made 2 huge free agent signings, the first being Darryl Strawberry, who was a 7-time All-Star with the Mets. As this was huge news at the time, the other signing was a very underrated Brett Butler, who was an excellent leadoff hitter at the time, someone who could hit around 300, draw walks, steal bases, play tremendous defense in center field, and was the best bunter I ever saw, if that means anything to anyone anymore. So, the 1991 Dodgers, they led the NL West for most of the season, not by huge margins, but from September 27 to October 5th, the Dodgers began that stretch with a 2-game lead, but went 4-4 to end the season. Meanwhile, the Atlanta Braves, yes, they were in the NL West at the time, had an 8-game winning streak, and thus, Atlanta, they went to the postseason instead of Los Angeles. Then for the 1992 season, Eddie Murray, he'd signed with the Mets, but the Dodgers, they'd signed the very talented Eric Davis, as the Dodgers outfield with Davis, Butler, and Strawberry looked tremendous on paper. However, the Dodgers offense was a huge disappointment. Really, only Brett Butler performed well. Strawberry, to simply put it, really began to decline, and Eric Davis had his injury issues and had his worst season in the majors offensively in 1992. Meanwhile, the pitching staff, it'd be average, and the 1992 Dodgers finished with a 63-99 record with a .389 winning percentage, which would be the franchise's lowest since 1912. 1992 was a season Dodgers fans were not used to seeing from their team. Perhaps some fans were thinking that darker days would be on the horizon. But this is the Dodgers, a franchise with great history in terms of their farm system and player development, which would contribute to something absolutely amazing. So the 1992 Dodgers, they were a huge disappointment, but I'd like to mention that Dodgers first baseman Eric Karros would be the 1992 NL Rookie of the Year with 20 home runs and 88 ribbies. Then for the 93 season, the Dodgers, they got back up to that 500 mark with an 81-81 record, and Mike Piazza was named the Rookie of the Year, who put up crazy numbers for a catcher that year with 35 home runs and 112 RBIs and posting a .318 batting average. In addition, Piazza would obviously go on to being arguably the greatest hitting catcher ever. A new era would begin in LA. Enter the 1994 MLB season. Los Angeles, they'd be in first place from the middle of May until the end of the season. However, the end of the season was in mid-August because of a strike, which canceled the rest of the season. And Dodgers outfielder Raul Mondesi, who had one of the greatest arms ever, became the third Dodger in a row to win NL Rookie of the Year. So I just want to stop right here for a moment. From this point on, the Dodgers, they'd be competing for NL West titles, garner the two divisions in each league, and the Dodgers would not have to compete with the Braves in the NL West. So the 1994 position players of the Dodgers are here. You have some quality youth to go along with some veterans like Brett Butler and Tim Wallach, who would be productive for the Dodgers, but then players like Darryl Strawberry, Cal Daniels, and Eric Davis would no longer be on the team. Now, three players that I need to mention are Jose Offerman, who could hit around 300, but I remember him making so many errors at shortstop. As Offerman, he'd be traded to Kansas City after his All-Star season with LA in 1995. Then there's Delano DeShields, who could draw walks, steal bases as he was very fast, but perhaps DeShields is a name that Dodgers fans want to forget because the second baseman was acquired from the Expos by trading away the great Pedro Martinez. Then later on, Henry Rodriguez was also traded to Montreal for essentially veteran outfielder and two-time All-Star Roberto Kelly, who had a below-average OPS plus during his one season in LA. And as for Rodriguez, he'd become a solid middle-of-the-lineup power hitter for the rest of the 90s. Enter the 1995 season, the pitching staff would get better, and that team ERA, it went down thanks to rookie Ishmael Valdez, and also thanks to Hideo Nomo, who captivated baseball fans during the season. Nomo led the NL in strikeouts and had a 2.54 ERA, and as a result, Nomo then, he became the fourth Dodger in a row to become the NL Rookie of the Year. The 1995 Dodgers, they made it back to the postseason, winning the NL West, but got swept by the Cincinnati Reds in the National League Division Series. Enter the 1996 season, the Dodgers had the best team ERA in the NL. The Dodgers' young core, it was producing, and part of that core also included Todd Hollandsworth, who would then become the fifth Dodger in a row to win the National League Rookie of the Year. That is quite amazing to have a franchise produce 5 consecutive Rookie of the Year award winners. Heck, it's hard enough to have 2 consecutive Rookie of the Year award winners. I can't even imagine a team getting 4 in a row. Well, actually, that did occur, as it was done by, you guessed it, the Dodgers from 1979 to 1982. But nonetheless, 5 consecutive Rookie of the Year award winners is truly remarkable. So also in 1996, I also want to mention that in my opinion, I thought the greatest no-hitter took place as Hideo Nomo pitched a no-hitter in Colorado. Now, I always thought that this was the greatest no-hitter because at the time, Coors Field, it had this like aura or mystique of just like impossible to pitch in, as it seemed like balls were constantly being launched into the seats, as Colorado was such a hard place to pitch in. Now also, once again, in 1996, the Dodgers, they made it back to the playoffs. Now this time as a wild card, but then they got swept once again in the National League Division Series, but this time by the Braves. This would be the last time in the 90s the Dodgers would make the postseason. Los Angeles would still be competitive for the most part to finish the decade, but major changes would be coming. So the first major change that I want to mention has to do with longtime Dodgers manager Tommy Lasorda. The fan favorite Lasorda, he suffered a heart attack in June of 1996, which resulted in bench coach Bill Russell taking over. To start the 97 season, someone other than Lasorda would be managing the Dodgers on opening day, as this had not happened since 1976. Furthermore, prior to the 1997 season, Dodgers owner Peter O'Malley announced plans to sell the franchise. The O'Malley name has been associated with the Dodgers since the 1940s. According to the website Dodger Blue, O'Malley stated baseball's changing dynamics as a primary factor in his decision to put the Dodgers up for sale. More on this later on. So in 1997, the Dodgers were hitting long balls as 4 players on the Dodgers hit at least 30 home runs in Mike Piazza, Eric Karros, Raul Mondesi, and Todd Zeile. The team was playing solid ball. On September 16th, the Dodgers stayed a 2-game division lead, but went 4-7 down the stretch and missed the postseason as the Giants won the NL West, denying LA a 3rd straight postseason appearance. But off the field in March of 1998, the Dodgers' sale was final, as Rupert Murdoch's News Corp, or Fox Entertainment, would now be in control of owning the Dodgers. So for the 1998 season, the Dodgers, they were playing around 500 baseball in late May. Then a shocking trade was made, as Mike Piazza was sent to the Florida Marlins. Apparently what happened is that Dodgers GM Fred Clare, who was the GM since 1987, always had final say on every deal. But for this trade, Clare had no idea about this blockbuster trade. and didn't want to trade Piazza. President Bob Graziano was supposedly the one who recommended the trade and was labeled by the LA Times as a point man for Fox. Moreover, after a poor start, Hideo Nomo was traded to the Mets. Then about a month after the Piazza trade, Graziano announced the firings of GM Fred Claire and manager Bill Russell as Los Angeles had injuries and were not performing well as they were 36-38, 12.5 games behind San Diego. Glenn Hoffman would be the manager and Tommy Lasorda, he'd be the interim GM. The Dodgers had finished the 1998 season 83-79. Enter the 1999 MLB season. LA's new GM would be Kevin Malone. Lasorda, he would then become the team's senior vice president, and the new manager would be Davey Johnson. Los Angeles made a huge signing in pitcher Kevin Brown, who signed MLB's first $100 million contract, but LA, they had a 77-85 record in 1999. So, that's the Los Angeles Dodgers in the 90s. I always felt the Dodgers were competitive during this decade with some good talent, but did not achieve the success that fans were so accustomed to seeing previously. The 5 consecutive Rookie of the Year winners was very memorable for me. Comment below and tell me what you think about the Dodgers in the 90s. Thank you so much for watching this video, and thank you for the support.